This painting is my first ever painting from China. It was a real joy to travel, but also I wanted to make sure I really captured the essence. That's normally what happens when I travel. I want to try and get that foliage, colour, but with this one it was really the architecture. So let's see how I go. This one does require quite a bit of drawing because it's a fairly information shape-laden foreground. But once again, I do feel that a subject that has possibly too much going on is normally easier in the long run than one that's sort of just a fairly open grassland, paddock, prairie, because with that one we have to really work hard at driving the viewer's eye. Where this, it's more about controlling what is going on. And this is my first Great Wall of China, or painting of China, after the recent trip. And I just love that architecture, those little shapes of the building. So it's mostly ultra blue, a little bit of alizarin, touch of yellow ochre, just so that I grey things off just a fraction. But the other one is to make sure I keep those nice dark values going. And that's where it's so important to get them in. So you can see that I'm using the hog hair brush, the red handle brush. Sometimes they do take quite a bit of confidence, and I wouldn't say skill. Practice does develop our skills, so I would like to more think of it as practice. As they say, practice does make perfection. Not that we're ultimately searching for that. So yeah, just trying to get that attitude of the rooftop. I can see myself doing more of the temple-like buildings. Even through Japan, there seems to be a little bit of a crossover with the style of building. So I've established that foreground. Almost looks like a cake there, really, with 3 layers or 4 and a base of sponge cake. I didn't think of that when I was painting it, but now I'm putting in the mountains, so mostly ultra blue. And I've rarely ever consulted the colour chart. I was probably shown it when I was 20, when I was first started. I can't even remember actually if my father said, "Hey, look at this colour chart, study it, learn it, know it." So I was fairly fortunate that was something that I did pick up fairly naturally. But definitely if you're struggling or with colour, but I think ultimately my advice is to try and learn on the job. That's where painting is all about, the developing skills, learning how to do this, what not to do. So it's more about that trial and error. Anyway, some people who may have, say, a slight coloured blindness to, say, the red and green, I'd advise working more tonally with a very simple palette. And I can normally pick the student that either really struggles with colour, and actually ultimately men are more prone to colour blindness apparently as well. So that's something just to keep an eye on and keep thinking about. But what I like to do is block in those big shapes, because a lot of people will ask me, "Oh, why do that and then rework over it?" Well, hopefully this actually passage will really answer the question. Notice how I really don't know exactly where I want to put these little rocky escarpments. So imagine if I had placed all the shadows, all these little escarpments in first, with less knowledge of where, or understanding of where they want to go or where they need to go, then I'd have to change them. Where when I go this uniform background, and also I have a little bit of an idea, so I am going a little thinner in certain parts and thicker in other parts. So I do have a little bit of an understanding, but this passage is where I will do all those corrections, adjustments and placement of shape. So that kind of leaves me needing to be able to work wet in wet. And that's where a bit of a timing factor. That's why this type of subject is excellent, because I can use time wisely by making sure and spending time on, say, the buildings and that, if need be. I don't always have to do it, but on occasions where I've gone a little too thick with the underpainting, where you can see that brush mark, that did pick up a little bit of the wet underpainting, but that in many cases is a desired effect as well. So it's not going from clean foliage, it's migrating into a little bit of more atmospheric or a little bit more blurred or a little bit more shadow. So yeah, just working ultimately sky. There's a ridge of a mountain just up high, then that big mid-distance. Then we superimpose the building, the red building, in front of that backdrop, but we also have that little building on the left-hand side, which is just in front as well. This will take me a few little goes to get right, because it's an interesting concept. I need a certain amount of definition to these horizontal lines of where say the bottom of the roof, or to the top where it joins in with the upper part of the building. But I don't want it too definite and too sort of deliberate where it looks architectural or a little too mechanical. So it's a very fine balance for both. So that's what I'm kind of, with this passage, experimenting with, but also to a degree figuring that out as well. So now we have the lovely sky mixture. I'm finding when there's a smaller sky, and especially if it's a lower part in the sky, even though with these mountains it's not going to be the low horizon sort of sky, but tiny little bit of phthalo green actually does the world of good when it's that cooler, because I never use phthalo blue, but phthalo green is a nice little touch to go into, just to cool it down, but also get that slight little greeny blue tint that occurs in certain times of the year, certain times of the day as well. So we've got those little buildings, and the deceptive part, I think, of the Great Wall of China when you see it in photos or anything is just how steep it is. It is a really good workout for the legs. If you want to build up your leg muscles or endurance, and the Great Wall is for you. I would actually love to see it at different times of the year as well. It was a little on the dry winter look when I was there, but I've also got to be careful of the placement of those little buildings on that ridge in the background. I realised I had them a little too evenly spaced, and there is another little building on the left in the background, which I realised I was wise to put not too strong, but just to break up that shape as well. So this is my little liner brush or rigger. I think it's more called a liner brush. It's a synthetic hair. They're normally only a few dollars, but I do like them. I've tried the much longer hair. They get a little clumsy for me. I love the control that the size 1 Neef little Taklon liner gives me. The control, the line, the effect that it gives. And once again, thankfully, they're only about $4. So we've pretty well got this painting under control. It's now a matter of just trying to eke out those little shapes and all that other little information. I really learned some marvellous lessons in this painting. Needing to get that as authentic as possible, the building, that's where I had to really start to push my knowledge and work out on those horizontal lines, so I can really now take that into future paintings as well. It's those little accents, those little flicks here and there, that brush accent, the brush movement is so important. So I hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.